My name is Joshua O'Driscoll. I'm an associate curator of medieval and Renaissance manuscripts here at the Morgan Library. And today I'm showing you one of our greatest treasures. This is a 10th century copy of an illuminated commentary on the Apocalypse known as the Beatus of Maius. This is one of the earliest copies of a special type of commentary on the Apocalypse, which essentially describes how the world will end. The text of this commentary was originally written in the 8th century in what is now northern Spain by a monk named Beatus of Liébana. The Umayyads, a Muslim dynasty that governed Al-Andalus, or Andalusia in Spanish, permitted Christians and Jews to live and worship within their territories so long as they followed specific rules. The Beatus manuscripts are a central witness to this important moment of cross-cultural exchange, a context which in many ways was fundamental to the shaping of what is now Spain and Portugal. One of the few things that we know for certain about this manuscript was that it was written and painted by a monk named Maius. Maius was an artist and monk who lived in Tábara, south of Leon, and this is his masterpiece. The essential unit of a Beatus manuscript comprises 3 elements. The first is an excerpt from the Book of Revelation. The second is a miniature, which varies in size depending on the importance of the text related in the preceding passage. And the third is an explanatio, or explanation in Latin, which begins here. This manuscript is often considered to be a classic example of mozarabic art, that is, a style of painting associated with the early medieval period in Spain, that is the 9th through the 11th centuries. The term mozarab refers to Christians that were living under Muslim rule in Al-Andalus. In terms of style, mozarabic painting is characterized by a use of bright colors and a flat, almost linear approach to figural representation. What's so amazing about this manuscript to me is that so many of its features were really radical for its time. It's an astonishing way of painting. You see in a miniature like this how Maius completely goes in a different direction from the previous examples. His style is characterized by a use of bright, often contradictory colors that clash in ways that we wouldn't expect. So green here, for example, is not ground, it's in the sky, and the ground is yellow. He combines a tension between static and monumental with dynamic and expressive. When it was acquired in 1919, one of the catalogers for the sale in which it was sold actually described the painting in this book as barbaric and rude and archaic, and he said that the figure's eyes were too large or that they weren't painted correctly. But this is precisely what drew the admiration of avant-garde artists and art historians like Meyer Shapiro, who considered this to be one of the most important works of art in New York. In fact, we know Meyer Shapiro brought modern artists regularly to the Morgan specifically to see this manuscript. And we know that an artist like Fernand Léger and other cubists really appreciated the sense of freedom that they saw in this medieval painter's work. Freedom from the rules of naturalistic painting, freedom from the requirement that an image look like what it represents. This was proof that there was another way to paint, that it didn't just have to be the naturalistic way of painting that had governed artists since the Renaissance. Here you have historical justification that there can be, and perhaps even should be, a different way of painting. By the 19th century, it began to enter the collection of noted bibliophiles like the Earl of Ashburnham and Henry Yates Thompson, one of the greatest collectors of illuminated manuscripts in the late 19th and early 20th century. Thompson famously collected only 100 medieval manuscripts. If he wanted to buy a new one, he had to let another one go, and this one survived. And in his sale in 1919, which sent shockwaves throughout the rare book world, Belle Green, the librarian of the Morgan Library and its future director when it became a public institution, wrote in her personal copy of the catalog, "Want," underlined. And in doing that, she was actually bucking the fashion of the day. This was not a popular manuscript at the time. Belle Green was willing to spend £2,000 on this book, but she only had to spend half that, £1,000, to acquire this manuscript. And in my mind, it really shows Belle Green's vision as a curator in shaping the collection of the Morgan Library and seeking out early manuscripts like this to raise the status of the Morgan Library to the level of international museums and libraries in Europe.